So Frank Warren absolutely obliterates Eddie Hearn in the Fury Whyte purse bid. According to Boxing Scene, Warren was assisted financially by Bob Arum, so they pooled their resources in putting this money together, and Warren alludes to that here. As you can see, he says, "We are really happy to be working alongside Top Rank and putting on this huge all-British heavyweight clash. Top Rank, of course, are an American promoter. They don't normally put on shows in the UK, so what their involvement will be with this fight beyond just helping putting the money together is unclear. Perhaps we'll find out in due course." Nevertheless, Frank Warren says that according to the WBC, this is their highest purse bid in history at nearly, well, just over $41 million, nearly $9 million more than Matchroom's bid, which was just over $32 million. Now, I saw an interview before the purse bid with Eddie Hearn, and he didn't seem very confident that he would win this bid. He talked about the possibility that Top Rank are basically going to put in an artificially inflated bid, whereby they've actually already agreed Tyson Fury's money behind the scenes. So just for the purposes of a demonstration, I'm not saying this is what Tyson Fury's getting paid, but just to explain what Eddie Hearn was talking about, he said that there could be a scenario whereby Top Rank have agreed to pay Tyson Fury, let's say $20 million, a flat fee. And they then go into the bid, which was won at $40 million. 80% of $40 million, which is Tyson Fury's cut, is $32 million. But in this scenario, they wouldn't actually pay Tyson Fury $32 million. They'd only pay him the $20 million they'd already agreed, but they would pay Dillian White 20% of the winning bid, $40 million, which would be, what, $8 million. And this was, I guess, Eddie Hearn's excuse going into the purse bid for potentially not winning it. You guys make of that what you will. This is a big achievement for Frank Warren because his business has been struggling for a very long time. Now he gets to put on a huge heavyweight clash in the UK. This must be the biggest heavyweight clash Frank Warren's ever been involved in, certainly on UK soil. I can't off the top of my head think of anything bigger. So a big, big boost for his company, no doubt about it. How much does he owe Bob Arum behind the scenes? I don't know. He used to work very closely with Don King, and for the most part, they seem to have a good relationship, but it did end in a little bit of legal beef. It eventually got resolved and they went their separate ways. Could it be a similar situation here where Frank Warren is now in Bob Arum's pocket financially, the way he was seemingly in Don King's pocket financially? I don't know. But any of you can go look at Company's House to see the state of Queensberry Promotions financially. They're not in a good place. So this is why, to a lot of people, Frank Warren winning the purse bid is an eyebrow raiser, because $41 million is an enormous amount. Obviously, Eddie Hearn had a budget with DAZN, and they weren't willing to go over their budget. They valued the fight at a certain amount because they're thinking about how much they're going to recoup by way of subscriptions and all this kind of thing. And I do think, well, actually, Eddie Hearn spoke about the possibility of making Dillian White, Tyson Fury pay-per-view on DAZN, because I was going to say perhaps that's one of the limitations of DAZN at the moment in the UK. They don't have enough subscribers to be able to outbid $41 million. But if they're willing to do pay-per-view, I guess that wouldn't really matter. Whatever the case may be, that's the winning bid. Dillian White should be getting around $8 million, which is about, I don't know, £6 million, £5.5–6 million, something like that. Not too far off the $10 million that he wanted, but perhaps not the 45, well, certainly not the 45% he was looking for. Although Eddie Hearn in previous interviews several weeks ago suggested that even after a purse bid at 80-20, they could still get the percentage adjusted after that, where Dillian White initially is on 20%, but then they sort something out in the court or with the arbitration, and he actually goes into the fight on a higher percentage. And of course, that would be very big for Dillian White, because if the scenario Eddie Hearn talked about is true, and I'm not saying it's true, I'm just relaying what Eddie Hearn said before the fight, but if that scenario is true, that could mean that he's actually getting more. Well, as it stands right now, if the scenario is true, he's getting more than 20%. But if he can get the percentage bumped up to close to 40% or 45%, then he might actually be getting the lion's share if the scenario Eddie Hearn talked about is true. Who knows? Maybe it's just Eddie Hearn coming out with excuses because of the fact that he didn't believe he was going to win the bid going in. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I'm really looking forward to this fight. Obviously, the ideal scenario for me was the undisputed fight between Fury and Usyk. And of course, Eddie Hearn's claiming that Fury ducked that fight, didn't really want Usyk next. He wanted an interim fight. And actually, let me talk about that briefly. So some reports are saying that it was Dillian White and Anthony Joshua that turned down the step-aside deal. But Eddie Hearn is saying that Tyson Fury wanted a fight before facing Usyk. And perhaps that was the last-minute renegotiations that Mike Coppinger alluded to, whereby Tyson Fury comes in and says, okay, here's $50 million for AJ, $5 million for Dillian White, step aside, but I want a fight before facing Usyk. At which point, Dillian White and Anthony Joshua say, well, hang on, if you want to fight before facing Usyk, that means we've got to wait even longer to get our shots. So we want more money for waiting longer. That's a possible scenario. Again, I don't know if that actually happened. None of us do. We're outsiders looking in. There isn't clarity on what's going on right now, but that's a possible scenario based upon what Eddie Hearn has said and based upon what's coming out of the Fury camp. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like I say, I'm looking forward to this fight. It's a great clash of personalities. I am expecting Tyson Fury to win, but I think that Dillian White's counterpunching could provide problems for Tyson Fury, of course, with that tremendous left hook that he's got. But I do feel as though Dillian White's lack of foot speed will hurt him in this fight. And Dillian White's success, I think, will depend a lot on how Tyson Fury chooses to approach this tactically. If Fury uses that height and reach, I think it's going to be very difficult for Dillian White. But if Fury goes in there aggressively, like he was against Deontay Wilder in the second and third fights, if he's that aggressive against Dillian White, I think that gives Dillian White a lot of opportunities to land those body shots and that famed left hook. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And before I go, I just want to recommend an interview. It's with a former NHS consultant clinical psychologist. He talks about what's been going on over the past couple years, where they've literally been treating the public like animals, like dogs. And any self-respecting human being would not have participated or complied with any of that nonsense, because that's what it is, nonsense. So yeah, check that out.